Hello, today I brought on with me Karen Hurd, who is an all-around wellness advocate and mostly into the brain health. And so she initially pursued the study of brain health as a means to solve personal challenges. And she's been on this journey for over 40 years with herself and her children. And right now she has a podcast called Divine Healthy Living, which help busy people nourish their brains so they can get things done. And so I brought Karen on today to talk specifically about nutritional strategies for the brain health and how that directly impacts our business, because if you need your brain to operate. So Karen, welcome. And what is one way you believe that we can honor God in our business that others may not know about?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, Dave, thanks so much for having me as a guest on Redeeming Business today. I really am blessed to be on your podcast, and I'm real excited to be talking about this. What's really interesting is in the last 5 to 8 years or so, you are seeing business people pursue brain nutrition specifically for increased performance, stamina, and endurance, right? But what's really interesting is when you think about your brain, it's an organ, so is your heart, so are
Mhm.
your kidneys, but your brain houses your personality. Your brain houses planning.
Sure.
Your brain houses decision making, like, should I do that? Or maybe no. Right? That's where that lives. And your brain houses your memories, your history, your connection with the world, and in many ways, your connection to God, not your spirit man. I do not believe your spirit man is
Yeah,
housed in your
absolutely.
brain, but your soul is, your mind, will, and emotions, right? They're housed there. And then a lot of times when we're praying, this is where we're interacting with God. I did a podcast recently, which the episode just dropped with Tamara Engwald, and we were talking about brain poison. I mean, she had gotten a brain injury from brain poisoning. So
Mm.
just talk about honoring God. And she lost a lot of speech, but the only thing she could say in her mind, in her brain, was, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Wow.
Thank you, Jesus.
Neat.
So taking care of your brain is not like a cool thing to do. It is like not optional. Okay. But the
Yeah,
benefit is
absolutely.
everything you do for your brain has very positive downstream effects. So everything you do for your brain, your weight should improve. Everything you do for your brain, your skin will look better. Everything you do for your brain, your energy will improve. Your immunity will improve because of the way the brain works.
Yep. That's what I've heard too, that books I've read on the brain is like, yeah, it's just an all one. If it's good for your brain, it's good for everything else as well.
For the most part,
Yeah.
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 Almost without exception.
Yep. Very good. So give us a overview of how'd you end up down this journey of really narrowing in on brain health and really trying to, what's motivating you to do all this?
Sure. I was that girl that could do good work when she wanted to, that had a hard time sitting still, that talked too much, sometimes made impulsive decisions.
Yeah.
And that's what ADHD sometimes looks like in women. It looks very different in women than it does in men, by the way. Boys tend to have, not often, right? There's many subsets of it. Women tend to be daydreamers that battle ADHD, tend to be more daydreamers. It's
Hmm.
more internal. She's like more likely to be an overthinker and perfectionistic. And boys are bouncing off the walls because they're made different, right? So it just
Yeah.
expresses differently. So over time, when I had kids is when I really started looking into it, because if you're ADHD, the odds of you having kids that are pretty dang high. Anyway, and I got into a business marketing educational toys, which is brain health and development, actually. And then as I'm working through and I'm asking questions like, well, why does this child do this? And you start understanding the impact of food and brain, food allergies and brain,
Ah,
chemical
yeah.
exposures and brain, and how that looked like. And what I came to realize, not only for myself and my own children, was that a lot of things we call bad behavior is actually what I call brain driven behavior. It's not a
Hmm.
child or maybe even an adult, although adults have a little bit better control than kids, even if they're neurodivergent. It's more like the brain is just like a child who's maybe chemically sensitive, could be acting out, raging, doing that stuff. It's not that they don't know not to have tantrums. It's that their brain is taking actions and they can't grab hold of the brain. Does that make sense? The same way as if you had muscle spasms, your leg would just be kind of, restless leg. It just goes out there. You can't stay, stop the leg, stop it. You'd like to. but it
Sure.
won't.
So what do you do for that? What do you do for kids who
Oh
are
my goodness.
stuck
Well,
right
there's
then
not like a
because
three-step program that always works.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah,
what
why
you
not?
start doing, right? Because kids are different and they change. So let's talk a little bit. I'm gonna back up just real quick and let's talk about what brains love, because that's a good
Okay.
place to start. Here's what your brain loves. It loves healthy fats. What have we been telling people not to eat? Fat.
Go fat-free, yeah.
Yeah, no, no. Your brain loves fats and it loves cholesterol. If you don't
Hmm,
have enough cholesterol, the good kind, not the kind that sticks too much to your blood vessels, but the good kind, you can it's like the mother substance for all the hormones in your body. Insulin, reproductive hormones, thyroid hormones, immune, all of the community comes from good cholesterol. Too low cholesterol, not good for your brain. What have we been telling people to do? Oh, yes, not have cholesterol. And then when they do have it, we give them drugs which negatively impacts that cholesterol. And then we wonder why their brain isn't functioning well. All right. So your brain
sure.
loves healthy fats.
Okay.
Okay. Your brain loves healthy carbs. What have we been telling people not to eat? Now, I understand that we're not talking Doritos. We are
Yep,
talking whole grains, the carbs and fruits and vegetables. There may be people who are sensitive. You may, for a season, need to watch what you eat, but your brain really loves those. Your brain runs on fats and glucose, which comes from what you eat, protein, and water. So your brain loves protein, good, healthy protein. And most people don't get enough, frankly. They eat about half what they really need. That includes kids, and water. Your brain is very hungry for water. It's always very hungry for what you eat. It's very what they call metabolically active.
okay.
25% of your food intake, your brain's going, me, that's for me, me.
Yep,
And so if you cut back too low on calories, extreme dieters, guess what your brain does? Dials down that metabolism because it's going to protect itself. Your brain is really smart. So the first place to look for kids is what's their diet like. And the cleaner, and it really is shown, and some kids are more sensitive than others, but you really want to eliminate food colorings as much as possible. And if you've
mhm,
got a sensitive child, that's a go-to. You might want to look at typical allergic foods. Um, dairy, dairy can spike. Wheat can spike. I mean, gluten can spike in sensitive kids. And non-sensitive kids, it's not an issue, but it is for
yeah,
sensitive kids.
yep.
Sugar, too much sugar, which Americans in the 1900s ate about 15 pounds, and we now eat 150.
Yep, it's probably all that soda.
Artificial sweeteners, brains don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
those very much at all. So if God didn't make it, don't eat it. Good rule of thumb. It really
Absolutely. I'm
simplifies
there with
life
you.
for you.
Yep,
Um, the other thing is chemical sensitivities. A lot of kids are actually very sensitive. In fact, there's a book, it's an older book from the 90s, but it's still true. Dr. Doris Rapp, R-A-P-P, and she wrote a book called I just lost it. Is This Your Child? And what she
hmm,
did is she did an experiment where she had kids in a class where somebody did it. There were kids in a classroom and they took a handwriting sample, and some kids, struggled a little bit, but handwriting. They took the kids out of the classroom or the room, wherever it was, cleaned it like they do typically with chlorine bleach, put the kids back in. One child could not complete the writing assignment. Another one was suddenly
wow.
dyslexic.
Just with the
Other kids
chlorine.
were, the handwriting was very altered. They took the
Hmm,
kids out of the room again, cleared it out, let the kids air out, came back in to try their writing again. Most of the kids recovered. The one child didn't quite recover.
hmm,
So chemical sensitivities can cause aggression, can cause brain dysfunction. So can food allergies. So you kind of got to start a checklist. And in the West, but in particular America, our thing is what's the one thing? And you're a coach, so you hear that. What's no, 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 no.
What's the one
What's
thing
the
that's
one
the
thing?
high
What's the one
hitter?
thing?
That's right. That's
That's
right.
human nature. The man went up to Jesus and said, "So laws, all good. What's the one?" Right?
What am
We
I
really
missing?
want that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't
Yep,
work because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We're a bunch of, but there's a lot of factors. So what I would do, Mama, is start and if mom's got brain health issues, she's overwhelmed at the very thought of doing this, right? So I would pray about it. A lot of times, Holy Spirit will say, "Yeah, start here," and you'll
mhm,
get direction from the Lord. But if you're not sure what he's saying, do the obvious. Junk food, sugar, do the super obvious stuff first. And it will take some time. The mistake a lot of people make, adults too, when they're putting themselves through this process, is they say, well, I'm just going to pick on junk food. I'm not eating brand name taco chips anymore with the weirdo flavors. So I don't see any change. So I can put those back in my, no, you might have 3 or 4 things going on. You can't
Sure.
just put it back in and go, I guess that wasn't it. That might have been a piece of your puzzle. So
Sure. You
when
got to
does the
do a
puzzle
lot
come
of things
together?
first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes together. Sometimes those last few pieces, they go, there it is. A lot of times that's what you need to do. Besides, nobody was ever hurt getting rid of junk food. So that's a safety. You want to look at your
Yeah.
chemical sensitivities. A lot of cleaning products are neurotoxic. And it's not, and the same thing with personal care products. So it's not that one is super bad. It's just that we've got
The
multiples. And
combination
so
of everything going on. Yeah.
stacks up. Yeah.
Sure.
And insensitive kids, think of those as our canary in the minefield, right? They're
Hmm.
warning us that those are symptoms. And children and women metabolize things differently than men, which is why you see those sensitivities in kids and women before men. Not that men
Mm,
don't have them, they just have them at a different percentage. Does that make
sure.
sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
We
do
all
that,
differently. Yep.
and make sure brains love exercise. If you've got a kid that can't sit still, my son, now we homeschooled, and when he was like all frustrated with his math, he'd go out on the tramp and he'd run circles around the tramp. He literally wore out the tramp around where it connects right to the springs. I mean, it's like, why is this tramp falling apart? Because he was running circles. He'd come in and then he'd answer all the math. You've got to give your brain time to process, right?
Yeah.
So that's that's where I would start with adults, because adults will say, "What do I do for brain fog?" It,
Start
you
with your diet. Yeah.
start.
Start with the diet,
That's a
things
good
you
place
around,
to
and
start. Yep.
yep.
And people go,
As I'm
"Which
drinking this
diet?
Mountain
Which
Dew,
diet?"
what should I do? What should I do? Start get
Yeah.
rid of
Where
that.
do I start?
Yeah.
And a good diet to follow overall is the Mediterranean, or something called the Mind diet. They're very similar. Mind diet just has more berries in it and a
Hmm.
couple changes, like no red meat at all. Again, you have to play with it, see what works. And it's
Sure.
not about the Mediterranean diet. It's not just about olives and feta cheese, although those are delicious. It's really about the proportions, mostly vegetables, but you want to make sure you're getting your protein, whole grains, and sugar very low, and alcohol very low. Your brain doesn't like alcohol. And when you drink it, alcohol runs to the front of the line, jumps in front of what the brain needs, and says to the liver, "You're going to deal with me now." The brain's going, "Dude, I need my stuff." And the alcohol literally jumps in front, demands to get metabolized first, and your brain gets what's left over, which sometimes isn't very much. So, alcohol limit, get your sleep, really super basic stuff. It's not sexy. I mean, I did do a podcast on sleep, but
Yeah.
people aren't going, wow, let's go read an article on sleep, right? We want the
Sure.
super punchy thing.
Yep. Yeah. Very good. So you've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And that's going to all affect your productivity, because if you can't think straight, you're
No,
not going
exactly.
to be able to answer a question, be creative, whatever in your
Right.
work.
And productivity, when it comes to brains, now different brains function in product. A neurodivergent person is going to function differently than a neurotypical person. And neurodivergent and neurotypical, the difference is how the brain processes. Okay. That's basically what the difference is. Neurodivergent is not a diagnosis. But so when it comes to productivity, like an ADHD person, like moi, I'm going to have different ways to be productive than somebody who can. I've got friends, I don't know how they do it. They get a task done, take a 1 minute break, go get the next task done, take another 1 minute break. And I'm like, how do you do that? I can't do that. I work differently. I work in tunnels, right? So you're going to drop me into thing. You're going to get, and once I'm into it, I'll work for 2 hours before I come up for air again. Then I take a long break. It's very, very different. So you have to know, in some
Who you
ways,
are. Yeah.
who you exactly, and then you're a coach, so you see all different kinds of things. I would say for brain and productivity, a small amount of caffeine is okay. No,
Mm.
not Red Bull or other energy drinks. Not trying to go after the brand because that's too much. It's too much
Sure.
caffeine, too much sugar, and if you start and it can cause heart damage. It's way too much, way too much. And if you rely on it, then you're probably too short in other areas. But a small amount is fine. Okay. There's a type of supplement called nootropic. Maybe you've heard, I'm sure you've had that because you've done some
Mm.
reading. A nootropic, and I was going to spell NOO, tropic, TROPIC. It's basically, nootropics used to be synthetic. There are some that are synthetic, which would be more in the drug category, but it also refers to supplements that are specifically targeted for brain health. All right. Here's the thing. It's kind of scary in a way. Our brains are one of the first things to develop when we're in utero. That's why when you see pictures of babies, they've got this super huge head, right?
Yep. Big
God made
brain.
your brain first. Okay, that's how it works because your brain's going to start directing everything else. Comes on board first. Um, and then you go through a shedding process in the toddler years where your brain's going, apparently, we're not going to use these sounds in our language, so get rid of them. Your brain really wants to be efficient. Then it's going to grow. It's going to do another type of shedding in your late teens.
Hmm.
Some think that because that's when schizophrenia has its onset, is late teens, that the brain is shedding in the wrong way. Lots of
Gotcha.
reasons why there could be schizophrenia, but that's one of the theories. Then your brain peaks at 20 and starts dying. Wait a minute, stop. I just got started.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but you're not going to feel that till you're about 30s or 40s, right? But the more you protect your brain now, it used to be back in the olden days when I was coming of age, we had phones, they were attached to the wall. Phone freedom was a very long
Oh
cord.
yeah.
Um, but we were told that you had all the brain cells you were going to have when you were 6. We know that's not true anymore. You are constantly making new neural pathways. That's the roadways your brain uses to transfer information, and you are building new brain cells all the time.
And that's
And
where
they
you can
also,
continue to learn new things throughout your life, and
it's
even though if
very
it
good.
might be hard at the beginning, you do it long enough, and then it starts getting easier again.
Right, exactly. And
Yep.
by the way, part of the reason why it's hard is your brain has to build new brain cells. So imagine all the brain cell building it's doing in algebra. But that's my daughter is battling. She's coming back from a concussion, and the one thing she can't, her brain really physically hurts when she's doing algebra. She can only do it for like a
Hmm.
minute or two, and she's got to stop
Wow.
because the brain is very, very active. So sometimes when you're looking at brain injury, it kind of shows you how the brain is working.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
productivity, sleep, not sexy, but very important,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
You had asked me what are some of the things that people do that wreck productivity?
Yeah, like what are some common mistakes people make when if they don't think about their brain and they don't think about taking care of it? What do they do?
All nighters. Hello,
All nighters.
college. Right? And by the way, we know that happens sometimes, right? Um, and interestingly enough, if you don't sleep, sleep helps to cement the memory. So if like you're learning a lot of new stuff and you're like, go right to take the exam, maybe you remember back to college, and after the exam you could remember a dang thing. Yeah, because you didn't sleep. So sleep is really, really key. Your body detoxifies and your brain rebuilds. It sheds. It's part of your dreams. Sometimes it's the Lord speaking to you, but sometimes it's your brain kind of going, do we need this? No. Do we need that? No. Do we need this? No. And it's just processing and getting rid of stuff. So sleep is key. Another productivity no is multitasking. Now there are some
Mm,
people that can really do it, and you've seen this as a coach, right?
yep.
Very few people. Now, you can multitask. Women, like if I'm folding laundry, I can fold laundry and talk on the phone.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
it's just an automatic muscle memory thing, folding laundry.
Yep. And
But
that's why it's a muscle memory.
it's perfect example. So you can do stuff like that, but you can't work on your books and then also write a project at the same. No, 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 no. This is
Yep.
not going to work.
Two of the down the same track, two cognitively thinking things. at the same time. And I've also seen where driving, you can drive and talk, but all of a sudden, if your car starts slipping, you stop talking immediately, and it's Zoom. Focus
Right,
all in on your driving
right.
because it's 100%, not 10% here and 90%
No, that's
driving.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Your brain is constantly making decisions while you're driving, even though a lot of it's been
Mhm.
automated for you. I mean, it kind of goes on muscle memory itself.
It
Over
does.
reliance on digital,
Mm.
especially neurodivergent people tend to rely. Well, here's the problem with that. You don't retain the information digitally the same way you do as if you write it down. Now, I was looking for my
You
office
mean
is here.
typing it in versus writing it down?
If you write
Is that
it
what you're
down,
talking
you'll
about?
remember it better than if you type it in. Yep.
Interesting.
It's the same reason why if you read a book on paper versus electronic, you'll remember it better.
Is that a proven thing?
Yeah.
Really? I did not
Yeah.
know that.
I mean, do you ever notice that sometimes do you ever notice if you're reading an ebook in a tablet, you're really reading it super fast, and if you're reading it on paper, you're reading it slower? Or is that just me?
I just don't read that fast, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. But I've noticed that, man,
Yeah.
why am I getting through this book real fast? And I'm on paper,
Hmm.
it's different. The retention is better on
Okay.
paper. So one thing I would say, it's not that we never use digital. We're all in business,
Yeah.
so digital's a
Sure.
piece. But over reliance, you've got it just whatever you can. Maybe even it's just kind of just jotting down highlights on paper. If you take notes, try to take them on paper and then maybe read them back in for digital. You're
Yeah.
going to be able to track better. Um, Another thing, not protecting your eyes. It's really important to have your monitors covered with like some kind of a blue screen, or
Yep.
get the blue screen glasses. Really, really, really important. The other thing is be aware of EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, from this radio that you're using. Don't put it by your ear. Speak to it like this. But wait, I'm in public. Wireless phones, all of that. Your brain is very sensitive. It's picking up on the wavelengths, and it can
Hmm.
actually interfere. I've had people say that when they start wearing a smartwatch, within about a month or so, their brain fog clears up.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So just be aware of that and take breaks. The Pomodoro technique, you teach that in your coaching?
I do not, but
It's a
that's
good
fine.
way for a lot of people to work, where they work on a task for about 20 minutes. Work expands to
Mhm.
fit the time allotted, right? So
Oh,
if you
yeah.
give yourself a small amount of time, you'll get in and then you get out. You get in and you get out. And it's very, very effective, but knowing your boundaries at work, right?
Sure.
Trying not to overwork. Those are, but like I said, with productivity, um, the biggest mistake I think is probably multitasking and over reliance on digital, where somebody, if they can't, if it's not in their phone, they have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. Yep. I like it, but I realize the whole GPS thing is like we used to use maps, it's handy. I went to DC last summer and it's nice just to throw it into the phone and
Yeah,
go, but I remember having to sit down for 20 minutes, look at all the maps, look at all the directions and all these turns that I had to watch for these signs.
right.
It made life easier, and I'm willing to give that part up. But yeah, it's
Well,
it's
yeah,
good.
not to mention all the tracking. Did I say that? So the I have my daughter. She's learning how to drive
Sure.
now. She's coming back from being bedridden, and so there's a whole bunch of things going on for her. But I said, look, you only know the 2 inches that the GPS is showing you, and the GPS, by the way, isn't always right.
Yep,
We have something
that's
in our
right.
house called getting Wazed. When Waze sends you somewhere, you're going, that's not how we go, right? But looking at a map, and they're hard to find, by the way, especially street maps, will actually teach you more of how the area is.
Hmm.
You'll actually start putting a little bit more of that map in your mind.
Yeah, I still like looking at the big picture of the big picture of the state because my phone just doesn't give me that big of a picture. I want the
No,
bigger picture, but yeah,
no, yeah. So
whatever.
so being able to do some things on paper,
Yep, no, that's
it
that's a big one.
it is a
Yep.
big one.
Um, So, hey, Karen, you've talked about a lot of things today, and we have to wrap up here. But if you could summarize all these things down and say, hey, there's this, I know I'm going to do it again. There's one thing that's
Oh, the one
more
thing
important. Is there one thing that's more important than another that you would like to encourage our audience to do or not do?
I would say, it's real important to be patient with your brain. Sometimes it can be pushed a little bit and be stronger, but most times it doesn't like it very much. So pay
Mm,
attention to the signals your body is sending you. Understand that if you're looking for what's going on, what can make it better, it might be a bit of a checklist, and it comes in layers. Does that make sense? So you
mm-hmm.
might get one piece. So you might get up to, drinking 5 glasses of water a day. Less than, your brain at 4 glasses or less, it's dehydrated. You've already lost cognitive function by about 20%,
Okay.
right? So you might pick one habit, start there. If you don't know where to start, pick one, start, get it under your belt, add the next one, right? It's kind of like atomic habits.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure is. Very good. Well, thank you, Karen, very much for your time, your encouragement, and all your knowledge you've shared with us. Check the show notes for a lot of the stuff we're talked about. We'll get some sites and links and contacts if you want to get a hold of Karen. And newsletter is a great way to communicate with me and keep in contact with me. So, friends, that's all for now. Trust you've been inspired to redeem your business, redeem your time, buy it back, and walk worthy of God's great name.